All right, so I thought it was time to do a revisit to putting and throw in videos that I had posted earlier on my channel. Um, Definitely had a little bit of changes, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time going over this inside. Well, obviously, when I'm here, I'm putting. I threw that tee shot a little too hard. So when I'm at this range, I don't want to spend a ton of time going over this stuff because I feel like, from inside 100, most of these putters put the same or very similar. So I would throw, and I'm going to aim the left side of the basket just so I'll miss it. And I don't want to keep trying to find this yardage over and over again. But, I'd pick the yardage and I would aim, pretty much straight there. And then went right over the side of the cage. And the only difference I make with the Challengers, I aim just a little bit further to the right to get it to go over the same spot. And you can see I even caught Shane with that one because it doesn't really, at this range, it doesn't have a time to start fading a ton. And it doesn't really matter which one you're using at this range. They're all going to go about that same spot. That was the new Cenis. The Rico is about the same. I think aiming the Hope there, I would probably make it because it's not as stable. But even at this shorter distance, I think the Pure, honestly, would probably still fade at this low power because it won't start turning until you throw it a little harder. But all these putters are going to behave pretty much the same. And I would expect that the Hope would be the closest to making it here. It will catch the most chins if I did that. But yeah, I'm just pretty much aiming over there and letting it fade to the chains. That particular win with a disc like the Challenger, it can do that every once in a while if you're not paying attention, fade too much. Definitely, it's not my favorite disc to use inside of whatever. When I'm in this close, I honestly would probably rather use the Hope. But because I can get away with only using one disc, it's kind of a big deal to free up the extra bag slot, to let me put a utility putter in, just to focus a little bit, make sure my power's right, make sure the sway's right, and just throw it in. So you will see me cage or chain out one of those every once in a while if I'm not paying really close attention. But for the most part, I've been able to keep my focus on it and be able to not screw those up. Okay, so this would be let me go back just a little bit further than this. Okay, this is kind of decision making point number one here. When I hit this range, as you know, I like to use the little valley of the bottom chevron to aim, and I just line it up with the top of the band. All right, a little bit of headwind, so I would put that kind of at the bottom of the band because it's going to lift just a touch. So from here, I would probably aim right about there, which again, I'm going to aim to the left side just so I miss this. I put about yay amount of power on it. Didn't watch this way, so that would have missed low. See how much lower that is. So there we go, a little better. But you can see I'm kind of caging these because that's not normally how I put these. If I were to try to make this, let me actually pay attention. All right, I throw it right there. That would be option number one. Is keeping pretty much the same putting style. Just throw it a little bit harder because you're a little bit further away. Sorry, I'm not these long form videos, you're just gonna have to deal with me wasting time. Sorry to waste your time. Okay, so 120. This is where I could throw that right at the basket. But it's getting to the point now where that's pretty touchy with the amount of fade that it's going to have. It's really dropping when it gets out that far. So this is when I like to switch to aiming lower. And what I'll do is I'll just take the second valley point on the second chevron, and that'll be my new aim point. And I do this about 120. Right. So I normally 125 is here. So I'm going to aim just a titch lower. I'm going to kind of put it right on the band. And so 125, my pull for that is here. That's 130. That's 150. All right. So I'm going 125. And I lost this way. All right. So 125, paying attention to where this way is. All right. And I just get a lower shot. That's a trajectory that I like better. I feel like I have more control over that. Try to not overthrow this one. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to aim off to the side just so we miss this. All right, there's that 125 power. Let's go check where my a little lower than I wanted it. I wanted it about right there. Okay, so you can see where the Cetus flies compared to Challenger at the same power. Let this sway back up real quick. Just a titch lower, but the same flight. Rico. I think that's about the right power. Yeah. Very similar to the Challenger, just a little bit slower, a little bit more overstable at this power. The Hope, you can actually get away with this a little bit with the Hope from this yardage. You can see it starts to turn a little bit, but it doesn't turn a ton. So you could do this pretty much until you hit the 150 pole. With that, it's not bad. And with the Pure, it's pretty good too. Okay. But that trajectory, when aimed correctly, is a more direct path. I like it because it stays on the chains longer. To me, I make way more of those than I do using the bottom chevron and trying to gauge the distance perfectly. It's lofted in there. Okay, so with a one wind, I would probably just do a normal shot here. But I have the option from that same yardage. Okay, this is even a little closer to where if I wanted to go with that more direct shot for whatever reason, I could. Okay, now we'll go back even further. Okay, 130. We'll go ahead and miss this one to the right, but I'll put it at the 130 power. You see how it still stays straight. This is where we're going to start to see discs like the Hope is going to start. No, that one wasn't bad. But we're going to start getting a little more wobble when we pull it back this far. And if it does get turned, it will not come back at all. Like that has no chance of getting anywhere close to the basket. But stuff like Cetus and Challenger are going to stay straighter and work towards the basket. And I think Pure starts to get a little... It starts to get a little turned over at this range too. But when we back it up just a little bit more, okay, so this would be 150. Do the same thing. I'm going to miss it and give it the 150 power. Miss it to the right. It's just so predictable, so easy to hit that line. Cetus flies pretty much the exact same as a Challenger. Might get a touch more straighter flight because it's a little faster. It does fly a little lower, but because of that extra speed, it seems to hit about the same aim points. So Cetus is the best available putter today. I think Rico's next best, but you're gonna see it falls off in distance a little bit, and it is a little bit more stable. Like it actually faded all the way over to the chains there. Okay, and Hope gets turned at 150 power. So not reliable in my book at this point anymore. Same with the Pure. When I get over 150, excuse me, when I get over 150, I don't pull back any more power. Like it would probably be something like this for 160 power to get it basket height. As you can see, it starts to get more lift than I really like. So at this point, I would just aim a little higher and still throw the 150 to get it to go by basket height. That's the flight that I like. The other option I have at this point is to start using bottom chevrons. Okay, so again, I'm going to try to miss these just right at the basket, but this is when I use I say bottom topmost chevron, same aim point, full rips. You see how it still stays straight? The Challenger is like just that. It's just a freak disc, and the Cetus will do the same thing. You can see it turns slightly, but it has enough stability to get back. And it doesn't have that much more fade than a Hope, but it just has less turn, so it just doesn't really do it. That had to have been a really bad wobble. I have no idea how that didn't turn more. I also aimed further left. I'm not paying attention to my sways. Okay, so you can see Hope's not going to be real reliable for this shot. It'll get turned and it won't come back. So you're going to see a wider dispersion when it goes by basket. It's actually shocking how little the Challenger moves with the wobble going back and forth. Like even if I pull it back on an angle, like that was a pretty severe angle to get it to go over there. Even more so there, and it probably wobbled left, so it still caught chains, but this is just kind of proving the point where it doesn't matter where it goes, it's going to be somewhere close to target. So that's good for 160 full power on the bottom chevron. When I get it back to 180 is pretty much max range. Max range for me is the point of that one on full power. That's 180, so 176 would be just a touch lower. And it's swayed down. Okay, so that should be about the right height. A little low. Could be adjusting a little more for that 4 feet than I should. Okay, so on these full power throws, you'll see it doesn't want, it'll turn a little bit, like if there's a wind pushing it, right, like this one. So I would normally aim kind of right side of basket, so I'd aim kind of center basket here. Right, that should be the aim point to make. All right, so let's see what this kind of looks like out on the course. This is a hole where I feel like this type of throw-in is. So I've got options from this range. 125 is kind of my magic number for aiming with the point right on the basket. The wind's gonna make this lift a little bit, so I probably put that right about cage and just let it rip. Make the adjustments for the wind. Okay, so holes like this where there are big elevation changes, I just give myself a point to remember, 1 point to remember, and then I'll make changes. So I just know that 125 is right here. And this is, the wind's going to make it play a little bit more stable. I would put it kind of just right above the cage and just let it rip. So if you've ever played me on this hole in an MP, you've probably seen that flight line when I throw this one in. It's just so consistent. I get a dud skip. If I'm feeling super aggressive, I can try to do the same thing with a slammer. Get it to fade over there, but that's a pretty stupid, desperate shot. Low percentage. Normally these drives turn a little more, so I'm actually getting closer. So sometimes if I get really close, I guess if you're kind of scared, you could go second dot. Maybe like, I bet the 150 power on a second dot would probably be a pretty good, safer run. So that's just kind of an example of some options there. Trying to think of a good hole that has some elevation. Okay, so I like to lay back a little bit here just because it's an easier shot. So that 120. So again, going back to putting with Stever, I would adjust down, right? And then so I think about this much to match the slope. And then if I were to throw this at the 120 power, I'm just going to throw it in the water here, but just throw it 120 power and it'll see if it goes by chain height. Looked about right. Okay, so I would put, my aim point goes from the top of this basket down to about the bottom of the cage. Okay, so if I wanted to go second dot, I'd do the same thing. I just I would aim down more. So if this is, I have to aim down a little bit lower, kind of bottom of the cage-ish area right there. And this will still play fairly stable, even aiming down the hill, just because I'm not quite throwing it hard enough. So I would just try to watch this way. Okay, so the elevation adjustments are about the same. Okay, so with the wind on this one, it should push me further left on the hill and back a little bit more. So this should be a longer one, maybe slightly longer. Okay, 143. So I would do same thing. Kind of that same second point aim right there. It's got a little bit of a headwind with this downhill, and I'm going to be throwing a little bit harder. So I will kind of favor the right side a little bit. And then just wait for the sway. Okay, so that's how I would adjust for like a downhill. Okay, so this is a hole that usually gives me a little bit longer of a approach, so we'll kind of see where this ends up. Kind of look at the options here. So over here by this rock is kind of where I'd want to throw it. So yeah, all right, so now I'm at 150. I've got my options right. I could aim second chevron. With this tailwind, it's going to stable it up just a titch, so I'm kind of aiming off the right side here. And I could throw that 150, so let me aim further right, so I'll miss this. Okay, so that would have been one way to make it pretty consistently. I could also aim it right here and do full power. And there are advantages to both of those. In the one wind, I would probably go with the lighter wind. I would probably do that. I don't know if this will make it all the way down there. Terrible wobble. I don't need to throw through a bush. Okay, so when I'm a little further back, this would be like my 180, right? So 172 would probably be right about there on cage. It's going to get a little lift from the wind. I'm aiming a little downhill. So I would honestly probably put it right about here. Allow for the wind. Throw it hard. Really hope that doesn't go behind the bush again. Actually think there might not be any collision there. So 180, right? I'm thinking that will cover the downhill with that tailwind. So I'm actually going to aim just a titch slower. And then I'm going to allow for it to fade. Didn't fade as much as I thought it would. Or honestly, could have just been a bad wobble. Yeah, it was a bad wobble. It definitely should have faded more. So when I'm practicing, I like to do that. I like to check it to see, like, hey, was that a mistake that I made? Or you can see more often than not, it's going to fade. So I just caught that one. I caught the one wobble that was bad. See, that one did it again. It shot it off to the right. And at the end of the day, I mean, I'm firing down a hill from 211. I can't expect to make them all. But it should be the right height at least. So I know that I did my job. Okay, so in true Stever fashion, I've talked for like 20 minutes on something that I didn't even intend the video to be about. Some people had mentioned the putter stuff, especially since the Cenas came out. So I do like to go over the second chevron because I use it much more extensively than I used to. So this was the meat of the video today, and it's theory, really. Throw in theory. Like why I play Code Blue a lot, talk to him, chat with him while I'm playing, and anytime Sunshine Glade pops up, he's just pretty much like, well, shit, I just lost my elo, and we're playing together. So like, why do I hit Sunshine holes more than most? And it has a lot to do with a lot of different things. So that's kind of what I want to talk about. So this is another one of my brilliant Microsoft Paint illustrations. And honestly, I didn't even draw it the way that I wanted to. Because the whole point of this was that Obviously, we want the green ones are going in and the yellow ones have a chance. The red ones don't. But the flights didn't vary as much as they probably should have. This should probably hook up a little more. There should definitely be bigger gaps in between these left lines than these right lines, or the good lines. That's pretty much the whole point of this throwing video. Is kind of just talking about the flight of the disc and how to take advantage of getting more shots on target. So in my past videos, I talked a lot about the height of the disc, and the height of the disc is the most important thing. But when we're playing on these holes, especially on ace runs, we know what height to put it at, right? And for me, in a core, it's this height right here. And if I aim right here and do a straight pull, pretty good chance that's going in. I said pretty good chance. It was not the best chance. All right. Okay, so this is a more favorable wind. This is the same aim spot I just had. Slight headwind, left to right, right? So left to right is going to push the disc to the right. The headwind is going to add more turn to this disc. So the disc is going to want to slide to the right a little bit more. The wind's going to want to push it that same direction a little bit more. And then it's going to be trying to fight back. Right? So I could adjust my aim just a tad bit to the left, throw it. Okay, so you see that one wobbled left and I missed. That is the shot that irritates me. I shouldn't have. Hopefully this one. All right, so that did the same thing. All right, so that shot right there is the most irritating shot to me in the world. You can see on the replay, the disc kind of freezes for a second before it shoots, and it will show you the angle that it wobbled out on, and you can see it is on a hyzer. And I didn't pull that on hyzer. And this wind and my aim point and everything about it, this should go right. But if it comes out, I'm like, I don't know exactly how much the angle can vary, but let's just assign arbitrary numbers to it. All right, let's say that as this disc is shaking, when it shakes all the way to the left, that's 5 arbitrary units left. And when it shakes all the way to the right, that's 5 arbitrary units right. Okay, so it has a range of 10 arbitrary units. So if this is where I want the disc to release, and it will go in if I hit dead zero on my arbitrary units, right? Because it will turn and hold that turn with this wind and find chains, right? Now that went 5 arbitrary units, 4 arbitrary units to the right, right? Let's look at the replay. The disc is sloping to the right. So that ever turned, it had no chance of getting back. But what's the big difference between that flight and the one that missed left, right? With the same aim, same pull, and it misses left. Okay, there's a difference in how that disc moves and how that one's going in. But the one that missed to the right. And that's the whole point of this video, okay? And that would be that as soon as this disc gets to flat and starts fading, it's moving left, and it can only move in one direction, and that's left. All right. If the disc starts on an ante and starts turning, depending on what angle it comes out, it's going to turn a certain amount to the right, fight out of it, and then turn, double back, and come back to the left. So there's going to be a tighter dispersion when you're throwing a more overstable disc and it's turning. Okay, notice how I said more overstable disc, because if I were to do that with a fuse, right, if it turns right, it doesn't fight back. So the dispersion off to the right for a fuse is not any tighter, right? If I'm throwing a fuse and trying to make it, it's pretty much got to turn exactly to the basket and stay directly on target. And I have no doubt that where I'm aimed now, it could probably go in. Like that one might go in. But I could probably also miss left and miss right from the same aim point on this basket. Maybe not left, because this fuse does turn quite a bit. But there's one specific angle that this just can come out on and go in. And I can try to cheat it by pulling on a little bit of a hyzer. Okay, there it is. Okay, so that would have went in if it was the right height. All right, but if that disc comes out on a little bit more hyzer, it's going to miss left. So that angle will go in, only that angle will go in. There is no forgiveness in that fight. You have one shot of making it, and it requires the luck of the disc to be wobbling perfectly correct. So back to my paint picture. Which I can't get to pull back up. The red line's on the left. I want to avoid that flight. I hate that flight. Okay. There's one wind that's pointing tail right to left. It's going to encourage that flight, right? So I could do one of a couple things, right? If this is my normal aim point, I'm more likely to miss left on this than right. There are more outcomes to the randomness of that wobble that will cause it to miss left than right, because once that disc starts going that way, especially with the wind making it go that way, it's going to go left and you're going to miss. So it has to turn enough to come back. So I would aim closer to middle and force a bit of turn, right, with the ante. Okay. That's a good, that was too much, but that miss, I'm not as angry at that miss. That miss doesn't make me mad. Okay. That miss makes me mad. So at this aim point right here, and a little bit more ante than what I was giving it, it's going to give me the best opportunity to get one on target. All right. That's a flight that I can get behind. All right. So let's do this in practice. And I'm just throwing cores here because I know my height on this, and I know how this disc flies, which is overstable without a bunch of turn, not very much turn. So I've got a headwind here, which is going to force the turn a little bit, but it's also going to push it back to the left a little harder. I kind of feel like just putting it at the normal aim with just a little baby ante is probably about the best chance of an ace on that one. The baby ante is just because I want to skew that ever so slightly to a little bit more turn. Okay, so tail right to left with a 2. I have to adjust my aim right here. This is really going to go left, so I want to adjust my aim to right and put some ante on it. Okay, so that was a good flight. Just too much turn. So let's try to repeat that same shot and see if it was me or the wobble. And you can see that it was the wobble. So it wobbled right. I missed, but another possible outcome was right in the heart of the chains. So, but you'll see those shots with the turn and not they turn, they don't just immediately start fading. The ones that immediately start fading like that's got no chance of going in. Right, so I want the turn. That's too much. See, this is why you want to be disciplined when you practice, because I missed that first one, and it had that miss that I hate so much. So I put more ante on it, and I missed way right because the first one wasn't my fault. It was just wobble. I don't need that much ante on it. All right, I should be favoring the left side since there's nothing pushing it back. Give it the turn. Okay, that's the one. Okay, so why core and not one of these other discs? All right, let's go MD3 here. Okay, so MD3 is just as overstable. It's actually more overstable than the core. All right. So with this wind right here, I would expect that this, I mean, I love that it gave me the left wobble there because that's the exact reason why I don't throw this disc. This disc on paper, it has virtually no turn, no fade. It's just a straight disc. And on paper, you'd think that would be amazing, but it's not. It's got the same problem the fuse does. You have to get it on the perfect line. Otherwise, it's not going in. So if it... All right, so that one goes in. Okay, but if that wobbled left, I mean, because I know where that disc should have started, and I know it was like, oof, so far left. All right, if I throw that same shot, same pull, I can pretty much, I mean, there's a 90% chance that this goes further right. Okay, but not enough, so I missed left chains. All right, so let's throw the same shot. Another awful left wobble. Airball. I'm telling you, this aim point can miss right of the chains. There is no doubt. And that's why this disc is so tricky. Okay, there it is. So you can airball left, you can miss right chains, and there is like one perfect angle in here somewhere that will go in. Nope, right chains again. So I think this has like a 20% chance of going in. All right, there it is. Whereas I think this, and this is the worst wind, right? Because it's going to want to fade faster. But I think that I could make this shot maybe 40% of the time. I think if I had that same wind and I had it 10 times, that I would hit it 4 times. If I did my job and let it go when I'm supposed to. Okay, so chains both times there. I just barely missed on both sides, and that one's in. Wow, I really thought that one was in. Heavy chains. All right, so I just feel like I'm getting way more consistent results with these throws. Than I would be trying to get it just right. Okay, a win like this, I feel like I'm closer to 60%. Right, with that right there, and a baby ante, I feel like that goes in way more often than it doesn't. All right, that wind, I'm licking my chops. Okay, that wind, 50%. I just play a little bit further over, same baby ante. That's a good miss though. Bad wobble, good miss. Play the same shot. Another bad wobble, but I'm pretty confident that if I play that same shot on the Baby Annie, it goes in about half the time. Okay, so let's look at the alternative of playing it here with about yay much Annie is how I statistically has the best chance of going in. The alternative would be play it here straight pull, and allow the disc to fade. And now we're in the same situation as we are with fuse. One, it needs to end up somewhere close to straight. I can still very easily miss this to the left. And if it wobbles right, I'm missing it right. Okay. So I need it to go straight when I aim here. So I pretty much have that probably about 2 in 10 chance of it going in. I think I'm 20%. If I just sit here and pull straight, I think it's got a 20% chance going in. All right, that's a good wobble. If I hit replay, the disc is going to be perfectly flat. Okay, tail, going to want to fade faster than normal, but it's also going to be pushing it right. Okay, so this is going to be about normal aim, Baby Annie. That's probably a 50-60% make with that wind. All right, back to the bad wind. Let's not try to do it. Let's try to do it a higher percentage, probably 30-40%. If you play it out here, get a good release, play the wobble. You can see these misses are a lot closer than some of the, I've thrown in enough course, but let's try. Okay, MD1 and launch slower. I got to aim higher. It's going to fade quick, but this thing's understable, so probably here-ish on a straight pull. Okay. Pretty close. It's going to be a tap-in, but if it let me throw it again, you'd see the same issue as like fuse. It just doesn't have enough fade to fight back out of the ones that are turned. So when this gets turned, right, which I need to aim further left now because there's not the wind. So when this gets turned, there's no chance it fights back. All right. But on the same token, if I catch a left wobble with this disc, same aim point, I didn't get it there. I got the straight wobble, so it went in. But if I caught a left wobble on that, it would airball left. All right. So RNG's being good to me. Okay. Wobbled right. Okay, turn. I'm just going to make everything with MD1 apparently. Jeez Louise. These are very fortunate wobbles. Like this is just me being lucky. You see that disc came out flat. That wobble's right, any at all, it completely misses because it can't fight back. Goes left at all, completely misses. So this one's going to turn even more. Okay, no fight back there. That was a bad pull. I kind of cheated it that way. Okay, not fighting back. Okay, there's the left wobble. Same pull, airballed left with a headwind and a disc that's supposed to turn. Like, what? Where you give me this core and I put it here in this headwind with a cheater to the right, I think I hit. Well, I was getting ready to say I think I hit metal every time, but I just completely whiffed that one. Okay, that one's in. Like that fight is the ideal fight, and you can't reproduce that with other discs. This doesn't have enough fade. It's stable enough, but it doesn't have enough fade. Claymore, not stable enough. It's worse than, I think it's worse than the MD1 when it comes to gets cranked over. At least it has a little bit more fade than the MD1, so it can fight back. Like that's actually a decent fight. You have to aim off the basket, but if you're good at judging how much turn to play, that's way more repeatable than MD1. So I think Claymore definitely a better. I don't like the aim point, but it's a way better disc because it fades back. It's all about how nice the RNG gods want to be to you. Okay, there's a left one. So, and if this ever wobbles right, which that was a left wobble, so it completely airballed. So I'm going to want to try to play. Ideally, if I want the best chance of making this, I want to avoid that shot right there. So I need to put a little more turn. So I got to aim a little bit further left and put a little bit more turn on it. Okay, so that shot, it's moving so much now. I just think that's less than ideal. And should you overturn it, not enough fade to get back. All right, so your window's tighter. So even in the best case of you doing everything you can to put it on target, get the right amount of turn, the window for makes is still smaller than a disc like the core. Okay, so let's apply the same thing to a longer hole. I've got a stag and a musket here that I'm going to compare. Okay, so this would be my straight pole line if I had good RNG, right? So I would want to aim a little bit left of that and put a little turn on this one. Okay, so that wobbled down, which didn't help my case. I'm getting impatient. Okay, baby Annie, let's go ahead and let it get back up to the right height. Okay, so that's the best chance of making on that line. Okay, same thing here. So I'm going to aim just a titch further to the left because of the wind. And yes, I am aiming differently for different one winds because it does make a difference. Okay, that flight, ideal. Gets the turn, comes back. It spends the most time flying towards the target. I have the biggest range of makes based on the RNG. Okay, Musket's actually not bad. Sapphire is not bad because it is stable enough to fight out. It's just that it does have so much turn that you're going to have to aim over here. Now, granted, this is the wind that's going to make it fight out the absolute fastest. So I could probably aim somewhere around here and be good. I also didn't have the height right. I'm not as dialed in with the height on a musket because I haven't bagged one in 3 years. So, wrong disc. Okay, that was a bad left wobble. But it still turned. And like I said, this is the wind, the tail and the right to left are both acting to get this disc to fight out of the turn faster. This disc might be stable enough, though you do need to put a little turn on it. I could be overestimating how much it's turning. So put the baby Annie on it. Okay, that one looks a lot better. This one that's the worst one to try to ace on. Backhand. Okay, so let's go this wind. I'm going to have to aim that further bit out there. Okay, better wind. That was a higher probability going in. Oh my God, stop giving me the bad winds. Give me a left or right. Okay. And see, just that little bit of extra turn makes it just, when it gets the left wobble or gets the right wobble, it will turn more. And because it's less stable, it's going to have a harder time fighting out. So going back to our arbitrary units again. So if it wobbles arbitrary 4 units right with the stag, it won't go as far right. And because it's more stable, it will fight out of it quicker. It doesn't have as much fade, so it won't fade back as hard, but it will stop going right faster and ultimately end up further to the left. Okay, so that just will always be easier to put on target than a musket will be. And you'll give yourself the best chance of making if the disc gets to turn and come back like that. So I guess the moral of the story is you can throw whatever the heck disc you want. I mean, even aiming closer to the basket like this and playing a little bit of fade probably will give a better chance of going in. Kind of the opposite of forcing. Just try to skew the randomness to put the random wobble. You want to have the best chance of that ending up in your make range. So with this left to right, it's going to want to turn more. You're better off having a little hyzer on a musket. It's too much work for me. I'll take the stable disc all day, and I will do that. It's just way easier to put on target. Terrible wind. Ace runs, know your height. This is the correct height. A little bit of a tailwind, so it's going to go a little harder. Really going to want to go, right? So I could try to play the straight pull for the ace here. All right, but that's the shot shape that's got the smallest window of the make. Okay, so, and my height was way off on that one. So I'm better off not playing for as much wind and playing for the turn. There are more random wobbles that go in with that shot than the other. There's one of them. No. You see it's close. And again, this is the worst wind. This is the worst wind to try to ace this whole one. Okay, but you can see how the shots are staying on target a lot longer than aiming here and letting the wind take it, which that was a bad wobble, right? So it's not going to make it back, but okay, so you can see how that one, and I say the majority of the wobbles are going to miss this left like that. So somewhere there's 1 or 2 perfect angles that go in But when you throw it here with the forced ante, there are 2 or 3 instead of 1 or 2, because again, this is the worst wind. But when you catch a wind that's a little more favorable, work with me here, game. Work with me here, game. Okay, again, still not the perfect wind here, but it wouldn't take me as long to ace this one as the full-on 3 tail. I mean, again, we're still chucking a PD at a hole that's quite a ways away. Okay, that's the good miss. It turned. I know that I did everything in my power to put that one on target. There exists a right wobble and a left, or the straight wobble goes in, but there exists a right and left wobble that miss on the right and left sides. But with this amount of turn on it, there are more of them that are going to be on target like that. All right, so there's one more thing I wanted to look at regarding wind disc selection. And I realize not everybody's going to have the same options, I guess, that I have here. But this is a hole where I will most likely be throwing either a Sampo or a PD at it. These discs go the same height, same speed. For all intents and purposes, if there was no wind in play, they would pretty much behave very similarly. This one would just be fading more as it went by the basket, but they would hit about the same spot. So knowing what we know, I got a tailwind. What is the disc like a Sampo that has less turn, less fade going to do? Right? If I aim at the height, it needs to be to go in. What do we know about this disc? It doesn't turn much, it doesn't fade much, but it's fairly stable. So this tailwind is going to stable it up very fast, and it wants to go left. Okay, so what's the shot shape that we hate when we're trying to make throw-ins? The shot that doesn't turn and just goes left. Like that shot has the least chance to go in. I would have to aim over here and catch it perfect. All right, well, but nope, I got the turn and the disc isn't stable enough to fight back. Okay, so tailwind, the Sampo is not the best choice. PD is a better choice. Okay, and it's not because it's less stable. It's just because it has more turn and fade. All right, because if I throw it like this, it's going to miss left too. Okay, but the big difference is when I throw some ante on it, I throw some ante on it to get it out there to the right, it's got the fade to fight back. That disc stayed on target for a very long time. That disc has a better chance of going in. I do that with a Sampo, and you're going to fight back. Okay, so the only way I'm making it with Sampo is to catch the perfect wobble. PD, there's a bigger range of wobbles that are going to go in. The exact opposite for a headwind. The PD will turn too much. Okay, headwind, same distance. PD, probably going to make this because I'm going to catch the perfect wobble, but see, it wants to turn more because of the headwind. So I would have to aim way the heck over here for my good result. I can aim at that same spot with Sampo here, and it'll have a much better chance of being on target. Okay, so in the headwind, and I don't need to add any ante to this because there's going to be quite a bit of turn. So even some of these left wobbles are going to be turning to target. But this flight is going to buzz the tower a lot more often. It's got more of a chance of going in than this shot, which turns all the way out there and then has to fight all the way back. Okay, so headwind, disc like a Sampo, is going to be on target way more often. Tailwind, the exact opposite. The disc that has more fade, more turn.